Breaking news coming in of a suspected New Year's Eve terror plot by an extremist group has been foiled by federal authorities in the United States. It's the FBI that said that it thwarted a credible and an imminent terrorist threat, arresting 4 people accused of plotting coordinated bomb attacks near Los Angeles. The FBI director said that the suspects were members of the radical offshoot of the Turtle Island Liberation Front, an extremist group described by the authorities as pro-Palestinian, anti-law enforcement and anti-government. Well, arrests that have been made has gone on to save many lives, is what Kash Patel, the FBI director, had to say.
The subject arrested envisioned planting backpacks with improvised explosive devices to be detonated at multiple locations in Southern California, targeting U.S. companies. These bombs were to blow up at the same time on midnight this New Year's Eve. They had precursor chemicals there, and they were going to create these bombs in the desert. What they are starting to do is put their chemicals and wares and the components out on the table there.
Yeah. Over the weekend, my office, along with the FBI, arrested members of a far-left, anti-government domestic terror cell who self-identify as the Turtle Island Liberation Front. The individuals were arrested on Friday, December 12th, when the group attempted to construct and detonate IEDs out in the desert. In November 2025, Defendant Carroll created a detailed bombing plot to use explosive devices to attack 5 or more locations across Southern California on this upcoming New Year's Eve. Carroll also made clear her desires. She said, quote, "What we are doing will be considered a terrorist act."
My colleague Vishal Vivek with us in order to get us details of this. Vishal, a coordinated bombing attack was being planned in at least 5 locations. This was going to take place very close to LA, across the southern part of California. Take us through what the plan really was.
Well, the details of the plan have been shared by the authorities on the U.S. soil, but they have not really shared what was going on, what the locations were exactly. They have just said that 2 companies from the U.S. side could have been targeted through these by this group. And what this group was doing was they had gone to the Mojave Desert, which lies in the Californian territory, and they were trying to test out those improvised explosive devices that they had planned to, detonate by keeping them inside backpacks. That was their original plan, that they would scatter these backpacks across Southern California, and it would be a coordinated attack. Exactly at the stroke of midnight on New Year's Eve, they would have tried to explode these bombs, but they were not able to do so because they were apprehended in the act. They were trying to make these bombs on the desert. They were trying to test out these bombs, and that's when the authorities zeroed in on them, and all the 4 people were arrested. They seem to be in their early 30s, seem to be a radical left group inspired by the pro-Palestinian ideology. What really inspired or motivated them to take this path, that remains to be seen. But some posters were recovered from their rooms, which seem to indicate that they were quite anti-US, and they were pro-Palestine, and they wanted to disrupt the lives in the US.
Shall we also have our colleague Priyanka Dio joining us as well from the United States. Priyanka, a very shocking, but thankfully, like the FBI said, this has gone on to save many lives, because these were coordinated bombing attacks that were going to take place on New Year's Eve in California, in LA. Take us through the details that you're picking up. What is the FBI saying? Because there seem to be more people involved, and the hunt continues.
Well, according to the Department of Justice and the FBI, so far 4 people have been arrested, accused of planning coordinated bomb attacks. And these were set to hit 5 locations across Los Angeles and Orange County area at midnight on New Year's Eve. So the suspects are named in court filings as Audrey Lean Carroll, Zachary Aaron Page, Dante Gaffield, and Tina Lai. They were taken into custody and active investigation so far. They were allegedly caught in the Mojave Mojave Desert east of Los Angeles, and I went to grad school at the University of Southern California. It's not too far away from mainstream places, while assembling and testing components of improvised explosive devices. Now, prosecutors say that the group was associated with an anti-government, anti-capitalist extreme faction known as the Turtle Island Liberation Front. This is sort of a splinter offshoot group that has surfaced online mostly with very, very violent rhetoric and calls to disrupt U.S. institutions. The FBI also revealed that court documents where one of the suspects was handed a confidential source, an 8-page plan titled Operation Midnight Sun that outlined at least 5 simultaneous bomb plantings. That's at least 5, so they may have had more. And this was timed to blend in with midnight fireworks, and that the plan was very explicit. So officials have not publicly named these specific business targets, but they describe them as logistics or freight centers. And these are facilities that are critical to supply chains, especially out in California. And law enforcement has emphasized potential attacks on immigration enforcement personnel, as well as vehicles in early 2026 as well. Attorney General Pam Bondi has called the plot massive and horrific, underscoring just how dangerous this network's plans had become before coordinated FBI arrests prevented any sort of detonations.
Right. Of course, it was while they were trying to test those, bombs that were involved is when, the FBI managed to take them into custody. They have been charged with conspiracy and possession of the destructive device. They were preparing to test those explosive devices ahead of those planned attacks. Thank you so much, Priyanka, for joining us with those details.